it's Gary Dell'Abate, BABABOOEY. Met my wife in 1990, dated for 2 years, and we got married in 1992, exactly 14 years ago. Invited all the guys from the show, Fred, Jackie, Robin, Stutter and John, Ronnie the limo driver, Scott Sale, and Ganji. They're all there at the wedding. Everybody looks a little bit different. I think everyone's got a little bit more hair. Everyone's a little thinner. Wearing funky clothes that we thought were in style in 1992. But anyway, here's the footage from my wedding day. I think it's pretty interesting, and I hope you enjoy it. My memory of my wedding day was that it was my wedding day. It was very exciting. But it's also a little bit of stress because I was inviting all the guys from work all week long, the guys that joked around that they were going to play some sort of practical joke on me.
They were going to do some kind of wacky shit and make noises and stuff, but then they decided not to mess with the wedding, so we were all kind of pretty good.
I was pretty sure they wouldn't screw with me, but you never know, until you get there.
The one thing I do remember was Jackie's outfit, which was white shoes, and I forget, there was something, he always wore weird footwear.
Jackie's whole thing was he always had this linen suit and sneakers. That was his look. I think he saw Paul McCartney do that at the Grammys in 1972, and he copped that look, but this was 1992.
He looked like he could have been like in Barnum and Bailey Circus. It was very clown-like, and we certainly were all laughing at his outfit that day that he wore.
That was Jackie. Jackie always made his statement also, he had to be different too.
Ronnie's porn star mustache came to my wedding.
It was a little thicker. I think maybe Ronnie had a little more testosterone back then, and his mustache was thicker, bushier, stronger.
Ronnie's mustache was this stupid Fu Manchu thing that was just, I don't know what he was thinking, to tell you the truth, but he's past that stage.
I don't know what I was trying to prove then, but it was pretty weird, because I actually looked back at the pictures myself, and it's kind of strange.
I do remember Gary's mustache, and I remember when he finally shaved it off. It bared a lot of face.
It was like this huge awning, this huge hairy awning that like hung over his lip. And I think he did it to maybe distract people from his teeth. And this is not like a cheap shot at a teeth joke. I think that might have been his thing. You'd have to ask him. And I think he was trying to play up the looking like John Oates of Hall & Oates thing. I think he really wanted to make people think that that's who he was. Back then, Ronnie, I believe, and I must have gone to the same hairdresser because we both sported mullets. It was the fashion of the day. Some of us are actually hoping that the mullet will come back. And if it does, I'm not going to have to do that much to prepare. Ronnie looks like he might have to get a little hair extension or something like that to kind of help him out.
I don't think Fred has as much hair now. That's why he doesn't carry the mullet around. Neither one of us do.
Howard had the rock star poodle-esque hairdo. I think there was a comedian, Richard Lewis, was one of the first people who brought my awareness to Howard's hairstyle, it being poodle-like, it being like Louis XIV with the ringlets and whatnot.
I remember at that time a lot of people used to compare him to Cher.
I always loved that hair. But when you look at pictures of it now, it looks very out of control. I don't know how it looked so normal then.
It was a summer wedding. It was a July 3rd wedding.
We were all sitting together, everybody who was invited from the show, and when the doors opened and Mary started to walk down the aisle, she looked so beautiful. We all looked at each other and said, "Who is she marrying?"
Gary and the bride looked amazing. I mean, itchy wedding, and Gary was, in shape, and Mary was just beautiful.
That almost moved me to tears, until I looked over at Dominic Barbara and felt like I wanted to throw up.
Richard Simmons was hysterical crying, which was really funny. I got a kick out of that.
Richard Simmons was a friend of the family. He was a good friend of mine from the show. I'd had him to dinner at my house a bunch of times. When he found out I was getting married, he took my wife and I out to dinner because he wanted to meet her. So he'd just been involved with some stuff with my family, and we invited him.
I think his mother was really, really thrilled that Richard was there. I think there were some people that didn't necessarily want to go into the men's room at the time for some reason. I don't know why, because Richard was very forward and forceful, and he liked to hug you at very inappropriate times.
When Mary finished her walk down the aisle. She had to walk up a couple of steps. By the second step, she was as tall as Gary. And then when she reached the step that they were both supposed to stand on, she was a head taller than Gary.
This is Mary, and this is Gary's head. So imagine that walking down the aisle. I'm kind of going like, there's something lacking in Gary's height there.
Everybody was laughing when he was walking down the aisle because Mary was taller than him.
You know, I always joke around that when we went to go take pictures that afternoon, the photographer got like right up next to me as if it was like a big CIA secret. He said, would you like to stand on a box? We had hired Scott the engineer. He had come to me and he said, listen, you know, to help you out, I'll take care of you. I'll take care of the DJ for the wedding. And I said, great. Meaning we hired him. But what I didn't realize was Scott was going to farm it out to one of his guys, and that was fine too. Scott wanted to come to the wedding as a guest, but he helped me get a DJ.
He hired my DJ service, not me particularly because I was a guest. So I used one of my DJs to entertain at his wedding.
About a month before the wedding, my wife and I, we weren't married at the time, went to Ganji's college graduation party. And Scott was there doing every single thing that we didn't want at our wedding. Doing cha-cha lines, handing out sunglasses, all the things. And at one point at Ganji's party, he played Hands Up, and my wife and I looked at each other, and we're just like, this is a disaster. This is a fucking disaster. Because this is all the things we don't want. How am I going to tell him? So on this show, I told him the way we tell everybody everything. I told Howard, and Howard talked about it on the air. So we talked about it on the air, and Scott understood. So I gave a list of songs that we wanted to play to the DJ. What happened then was Jackie the Joke Man, who's always playing practical jokes on everybody, went up to Scott at the table and he said, listen, Gary changed his mind. He really, really, really wants you to play Hands Up.
Gary supposedly asked Scott to not do Hands Up, not do the Hands Up dance at the wedding. And I don't know if it was Jackie or somebody went up to Scott and said, you know something? Gary's changed his mind. He really does want the Hands Up thing to occur tonight. So could you go up there and lead and do a great job?
And Jackie was jokes around that Scott went, all right. Like as if it was his job, like he had to get up and do his job. So Scott got up and started doing it.
They made me get up and perform Hands Up like I was the DJ. And I had to lead the crowd of wild, rowdy, like Dominic and Howard. And then nobody got up to do Hands Up. So I was standing there by myself like an asshole.
It's the biggest dumb thing I ever saw in my life. At that time, I think he was half bald. And he's standing like a moron on this little platform. And he's standing there with, like, something you do at a kid's thing, like a bar mitzvah.
When Scott started doing it, I think Gary might have, like, shit a brick or something like that. And later he was let in on the fact that Scott was kind of like put up to that. But I think at the time, Gary wasn't any too thrilled about that.
It just ended up being fun. It seemed like I could have gotten mad about it, but it was so fun. And it ended up with me and Fred and Jackie dancing on the bar. Everybody got up strutting their stuff that day. There was one point during the wedding where it was a big circle that just sort of opened up naturally, and people were sort of going in and out of it. Robin was dancing.
Robin was on the dance floor a long time, and she was out there partying all night. I mean, you know what they say about the black people? They have rhythm. So I guess it showed up.
Robin, when she dances, it's like she's really, really good, and she seems to enjoy it. So that might kind of give you an idea of what she would be like if one were to bed her. So you'll have to be asking Mr. X if she's as good in bed as she is on the dance floor. Because from what I've seen, Robin dances tremendously.
That's what I hear, and I've always heard that I look pretty funny dancing, but I've never seen this, and I probably won't watch this show either because I don't want to see this.
My dance moves, when I'm loaded, forget about it. I'm Denny Terrio, or whatever the hell his name is, from, what is that, Dance Fever? Yeah, you give me a couple of drinks and just turn on the music.
The moves that I had were basically just a combination of John Travolta and a spaz. I mean, that's pretty much my dance moves. I mean, I'm white. I'm not supposed to dance well.
As far as white people dancing, forget about it. Some can. I mean, if you're Denny Terrio. But, white people have struggled with dance.
If you look really closely, John had this face that John used to make all the time. It's called his Planet of the Apes face. That's Cornelius from Planet of the Apes, so that's a face he made. So he did his Cornelius from Planet of the Apes face, and then he went into his dancing thing.
The worst dancer on the planet, bar none.
Look at me. I'm Stuttering John. He's always been like that, always will be.
Dominic did okay for a big fat guy. I think I saw him moonwalking at one point.
Dominic Barber dances fairly well for a heavy guy.
He likes to put on a show for everybody, especially when Dominic is around Howard. Anything goes. He'll just do about anything he can to get the attention and the love from Howard.
A lot of people copy Howard, and I think they all thought they'd be cool too with their dark glasses, wearing them even indoors at a party. Howard always did it, but I think at the time they were just trying to be Howard.
Dominic and Ronnie and Howard were all wearing sunglasses inside.
Unless there was like sunspots or there was some sort of like, laser show, there was no reason for people to be wearing sunglasses indoors at 8 o'clock at night. Well, Howard maybe.
I don't wear sunglasses. I wear tinted glasses. That's my thing. Dominic, I don't know. He was just trying to be like Howard, probably as usual.
Howard came to my wedding, and he had fun. He definitely had fun. He's not the kind of person to get out and get on the dance floor. It wasn't at the time.
Back then, Howard never drank.
He was kind of a wallflower. He wouldn't dance. He wouldn't participate. He wouldn't move around. Maybe he was self-conscious, or he was embarrassed, or he was trying to be cool.
He's great, on the radio, but dancing isn't one of his strong suits, and Howard doesn't like to draw attention to himself.
Well, that was pre-therapy, so he was rather awkward. Now, as you've heard from the radio show, he takes time with people. He tries to engage.
I'm glad to see that they're still married and still, they have kids and they have a whole family life, and it's great. I mean, they have two beautiful children, and it's nice to see, that people can stay together in today's times.
I'm glad to see they're still together. They got two lovely kids, great house up in Connecticut, and I'm happy for Gary. Gary, they make a lot of fun of him, that, he's whipped and he's this and he's that and he's Mr. Mom. But Gary enjoys it.
Everybody busts his balls on the air about about how he's pussy whipped, but I don't think he is. I just think he does the right thing. He's a good father, good husband, and he takes care of business.
I can't believe it lasted. Who knew?
Contrary to what these guys say on the air, I am a happily married man. Got two kids. We have a great time. I look back on the wedding, and I think it was a great wedding. I mean, it was, we all came together. We all had a good time. There were nothing embarrassing happened, nothing weird happened. We had a great time. I'm really proud of that wedding.